All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so the host will have to let me share my screen. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I think it's enabled.
Can you see my screen, Dr. VASAVVI?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
I think you can make it full screen.
Yeah, so are we good to go? And then I will do full screen.
Yeah, I think we are good to go. It's 4:35 almost.
Okay. So welcome everyone and greetings of the day. And namaste, welcome from whichever part of the world you're joining. My name is SIMRAN Ballani. I'm an educationist and I am residing in Bangalore, India. Welcome to this webinar, which is discussing something which is very crucial and important, national education policy. I will open up with a presentation just to give us an overview of what we are going to see in this webinar and what we're going to talk about. So here we go. Dr. VASAVVI, can you see my screen now? Is it good?
Yes, it is.
All right, so National Education Policy, Vision, Challenges, Possibilities. We all have to agree it's a very comprehensive document and vast in its vision. So just let's have a very quick look. These are the key principles of National Education Policy. I'm sure most of our audience has seen this page because this comes up first when we do a Google search to give us a comprehensive overview. So it is respecting diversity and local context. There is equity and inclusion. There is community participation. There is a lot of parent participation. It invites a lot of critical thinking, unique capabilities. It emphasizes on the core learning, and a lot of work is being done in the early childhood area too. All right, so we have always known, most of us in the forum have only known this 10+2, which is completely being transformed into 4, 3, 3 and 2 years. And also a very good thing about this is that we are having a mandatory recognition to the kindergarten segment, which is so very important in the early childhood development. All right, so this is talking about early childcare education, which is going to be from 1.1 to 1.9, where parents are going to play a crucial role. There is a lot of importance given to literacy, numeracy. Of course, they are going to work on the dropout rates, restructuring school curriculum with NCERT, holistic development of learners, language, local language, which we will be talking about, and teachers training, very important, recruitment and development, service environment culture, and equitable inclusive education available to everyone, and efficient resourcing and effective governance, very important point again. All right, so what are we going to look in this forum? So many of you who are new to our forum, we are Ecdf, we are Early Childhood Development Forum. The aim of this forum is to make sure we make a significant difference in the early childhood education across India, and we are doing some good work. And we request you to follow us on Facebook and on YouTube to keep knowing what we are doing. So these are the discussion points. Dr. VASAVVI, can you see this slide? Lieutenant Colonel.
You need to scroll the slide, Simran.
Because I was scrolling the slide. And how about this one? Can you see it now?
Now it's visible.
Yes, now it's getting scrolled, right.
Okay, so I think most of you did not see after the first page. So these were the key principles of National Education Policy, very quick. Do a Google search, this is what we come up with to give us a comprehensive overview of what this policy is all about. We've always known 10+2 as the structure, but now it is changing to 4, 3, 3 and 2, and very important, the recognition that has been given to the early childhood education and making it mandatory for a child to enroll at age of 3 years. I will not go in depth into it, but it's talking a lot about early childhood care and education and literacy, numeracy, and local language, of course. And this is what we are going to discuss. Can you see this line, Dr. VASAVVI? Are you able to see this?
Yes, it is visible.
So these are
Yes,
our
yes.
key discussion points. Does this policy have a vision? Very important. This is what we will start with. What are the challenges of implementation? So any document, any policy that we get, the main part is implementation. Use of local language as a medium. What are the next 2 steps for standalone preschools? Our expectation as regards to the government's guidelines, train teachers, teachers training, 3 to 6 years foundational education. Should it be in a standalone preschools, or should it be in the K-12 preschools, K-12 schools? And 3 months, 0 to 3 years, parents to do homeschooling. Are the parents going to be educated to do this? Is there going to be a parents training program? And 3 months transition to school, which will be after they finish K2 and they're going to grade 1. So we are going to talk about all of these points, most of these points, with our expert panelists. So let's get started on National Education Policy 2020. I extend warm welcome to Dr. VASAVVI, Ms. Sangita, and Lieutenant Colonel A. SEKHAR. Dr. VASAVVI is a founder chairperson of Ecdf. She's also MD of Inner Eye Foundation and Tender Petals Preschool Chain. She's an ex-trainer with Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and she's an author of Parenting's Handbook. A very warm welcome, Dr. VASAVVI.
Thank you, Simran.
We have with us Ms. Sangita. Can we see Ms. Sangita? All right, so yes, we have Ms. Sangita, and I can see her very beautifully draped in a sari. Welcome, Ms. Sangita. Ms. Sangita is an educationalist, mentor, and a curriculum developer with 15 years of experience. She's a founder of Kinder Crate and Kiddies Oxford Preschool. She also has a lot of research papers which are already under publication, and she's also a trainer. So welcome, Ms. Sangita Singh. All right, so then we have Lieutenant Colonel A. SEKHAR, who is a soldier, educationist, leader, mentor, trainer. वो कहते हैं ना सिर्फ नाम ही काफी है. So a very warm welcome, Colonel SEKHAR.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Simran.
Thank you. Thank you to all the audience. A very warm welcome. And now I will start with Colonel. Colonel, what is your overview? Let's start with an overview, because we all have our overview of this policy. What is your overview?
Right. Once again, good evening to all of you, each one of you. Thank you, ECCF, for organizing it. Thank you to Dr. VASAVVI for including me. Am I audible? Am I visible? Is it all
Yes.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. The big picture is, do we require a new policy? Yes. Are we late? Yes, we are late. Better late than ever. This first policy of the 21st century, does it have a vision? Yes. Could it have gone further? Yes. And what are we looking for? 2020, we have the policy coming up. 2021, we could have the national curriculum framework. Rolling out could start by 2022-23. And we are looking at India as a knowledge society over the next 20 years. So let's go back to what India was in 1947, 1950. We were 36 crore people. Today we are 138 crore. What was our per capita income then? What is it now? There are huge differences. So therefore, each policy, whether it was 68, whether it was 86, then further the modified version in 92 and now to 2020, each one is a policy of its times and the way people would look at it. When we had 36 crore people in this country with female literacy less than 10%, today we have, over these last 3.5, 4 policies, come a long way. Now we are placing ourselves on the cusp of what we call the knowledge society. The big questions: does this policy look at the world 15 years from today? If a student joins school in 2021, what would she get out with in 2036? What is the way forward for her? And are we prepared for it? The big picture is the policy is a good read. Its 65 pages are politically correct. They speak to the secular India we are part of, talks a great deal about India in terms of its knowledge systems, Nalanda, etc., has some harsh words for present teachers training systems, and has clearly given super focus on early childhood, which is one of the great highlights of this policy. Now, have we gone far enough? I would think not, because what we are going to see in the next 5 years, are we sure about it? And the second big question is, in terms of the industry academia links, how well has the policy, we had much more in the 484 page draft policy, how well the integration has come up. So my summarized comments would be, yes, it's a policy with a certain vision. Does it go far enough? I wouldn't necessarily think so. The challenges, especially in a federal country like India, is huge, and much more important, where is the money, where is the resources? So therefore, I would give a cautious, optimistic plus for the policy. I would look forward for its step-by-step implementation across the nation, both in the state as well as in the government of India spheres, private and public put together. Thank you.
So thank you, Colonel. So you're taking more of a cautious approach where this policy is concerned, where you're thinking that we need to wait and watch and see what is the implementations of it. Is that what you would say?
That would be the summary, because there are so many things.
Sure.
There are so many must, ifs, buts, maybe, can, implementation. So a bureaucrat reading it from a state capital, looking at it through her eyes from the SCERT in the context of the state they are in, there is a great deal of scope. I hope the core philosophy remains as such, and we are able to find our own legs of the right.
Yes.
I repeat, we should catch hold of the elephant, right? But we should catch hold of the right leg without us being blind. Thank you.
Yes. So what I would, at this point of time, I would invite Ms. Sangeeta to give me her overview of this policy. Sangeeta, welcome.
Thank you, Simran, and thank you for having me in this platform. Well, I agree to Colonel, as I said, that it's a great policy having a great vision. And the biggest, what makes us who we are working with the early childhood education segment, that the inclusion of early childhood education in formal education. So this is the biggest vision I can see in this NEP 2020. Yes, it talks about that abolishing of the rote learning system, which means critical analysis, which means more conceptual understanding. And it also talks about keeping everything in equal platform, that is co-curricular, academics, and everything. But to implement it is what actually lies the success of this policy. And what I feel that if NEP, we need to make NEP 2020 a success, then we must be ready for the change, not only as the educators, but also the parents and everybody. So a lot of change needs to come up when we are talking about this. Now, it seems very simple and easy when we say that conceptual clarity and abolishing rote learning system. But what actually we mean abolishing rote learning system? So if I take a deeper look into this, so when we are teaching in the early childhood education, the simple concept of colors, Right now, in practice, if we have preschooler parents, they might agree the way it goes in the classrooms or the preschools is the teacher says, what is this, children? This is the color green. Say green, and everybody is repeating that this is green, and then they do some green color activity. They go out, they see the green trees, the green leaves, they play with the green vegetables, and then they sing a rhymes with a green day, and then they celebrate Green Day. So this is what they are doing it right now. But is it called the conceptual clarity? Definitely not. So when you're talking about, this is a kind of rote learning in practice, because I'm not letting the child to think that is it color green or not. I'm just feeding it to the child that this is the color green. So if I need to teach this, if I need to abolish the rote learning system, what I have to do is I give the child a glass with yellow color, a glass which again has a solution with blue color, and plain water. And then I tell, now mix and let's see the fun and magic. And when they do that and they stir and then they see new color, even then I don't give out the name. I say that, do you see something different? A child might say, no, that's right. We are trained to say that, "Arey nahi, ye to galat hai, dekho ye kuch ho raha hai." We stop the learning process there. Rather, now the new practice would be, we have to say that, do you think that this color blue and this something happening at the center, it looks the same? Giving the child the opportunity to think and draw a conclusion. That is what NEP 2020 is aiming at. And to achieve it, the first thing which is required, that the teachers, they need to unlearn whatever they have learned, and they need to adapt to this new change, and they have to adapt to this system of teaching in a playful and playway method in the first in the first foundational years. If not the preschool, then definitely till preschool they have to do it, but then this has to go on to grade 1, and it has to grow on to grade 2 as well. Now I do understand the mindset of the parents. From the parents' point of view, they say that, ma'am, what to do? The high schools, there is so much of pressure in getting an admission. There is a bottleneck. So it's best that we put a child there early. But NEP is entirely constructed keeping in mind the student at the focus. So that is what is being said, that they are doing everything surrounding the child, keeping the child at the center. So if I keep the child at the center, then definitely restructuring of educational institution and school is very important to make NEP 2020 a success. So the first step towards it, that since we are exposing the 3-year-old to the formal education, till now it was an option for the parent. If they wish to, they could have definitely kept the child at home. But now that they are stepping in the education format, so preschools, so this foundation years of 3 to 6 should definitely be done in preschools, and preschools should not be part of the elementary schools. The reason...
Yes, absolutely, Sangeeta, and I like your overview of this. You're talking more of the base level, which is our foundation years.
Exactly.
And you have said it so nicely that we, all of us here, including parents and teachers and educators and all the academicians that we have to be prepared to change. We have to be prepared to unlearn. So here is where, what is Sangeeta's overview of NEP. I invite Dr. VASAVVI. VASAVVI, could you give us your overview of this NEP? Dr. VASAVVI.
Thank you, Simran. And yes, I agree to both my co-speakers who've spoken about the pros that are very much there, the vision that NEP holds. And as Sangeeta also talked about, what the preschool, segment, I mean, the pre-primary education segment should be targeting. Now, what is our option? How do we, go about it? And what is the major thing that we require for a success of this? When I come to this 65 pages policy, Colonel SEKHAR was, pointing out from point what are the pluses and probably the minuses which may be there in implementation. But what I am thinking is, first we need a huge mind shift of the parents and the educators, which Sangeeta had talked about. because we have been, it is all about the habit, and we are trained in, our generations have been trained in such a manner that rote learning has got into our system. There are certain things that have all got into our system. So we
Sure.
majorly need to unlearn and then learn this new, how to go about it. Secondly, there are, certain things like when we talk about, now already Sangeeta has spoken about the pre-primary. Let me go into this vocational courses which are, to be introduced. A very, very welcome, step, because I have seen that it is very important for children to, besides the academic, they learn other aspects, and they learn other things so that they can use it when they, at times. But when we come to vocational training or subject combinations, we have to do a major rehaul of the infrastructure. If we look at rural, if we look at India, 67% of our population lives in rural India. And what is the infrastructure that, and to build up the infrastructure, there's a huge amount, there's a huge lot of money that is involved. Now, coming to the recession, I mean, this post-COVID period, when we are talking about implementation, we have to look at the actual thing, the budget. The budget may be allotted, but what is actually available and what would be, done. Secondly, the teacher training part, like Sangeeta had said, the teachers need to be very, very, very well trained. They have to unlearn, and that is very difficult. So we have to entirely change their mindset. So there has to be a lot of things that comes in. So that is why when I talk about the vision of it, I would not talk about what are the points, the key points, because everybody has read about the key points. They know what is there. But the major thing is how we implement it. Now, writing something, a blueprint is different, and what comes out in the real sense is the other thing. You can do a very nice blueprint, but is it going to stand in that plot of land, that blueprint, that foundation? Would it, take that, when we build something, we would take that building up? So now we have to look at that. Now the blueprint is ready, everything is ready. So I think that is what the vision, everything depends on the implementation. We can talk about it, but now we have to walk the walk.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. VASAVVI, to put it, sum it up so well that we need to walk the talk. And I would probably add just one thought on this, is that this policy will definitely need implementation, a very strong implementation program. Along with it, it will have to have an evaluation committee, which is going to make sure that it is happening. I mean, having a 65-page document is an excellent thing, but we definitely want to see whether it is being executed the way it is planned to be. And of course, the accreditations and school owners' awareness, a lot of it will go for it to make a success. I want to open the forum to the audience to tell us what is their viewpoints on this policy. Do they resonate with the vision? Does this policy has a vision? Colonel Shekhar, what do you want to say about that?
Right. Interesting overview from both Sangeeta, you and Dr. VASAVVI. So I see a lot of comments here. Somebody has asked a question which is interesting. Don't you think that to abolish rote learning, we'll have to overhaul and restructure the prevailing examination system? Big time. We not even overhaul, it has to be broken into pieces and reset. Somebody has asked about whether it has run the course every day updated. To Mr. Sachin, not every 10 years, we'll have to review it every 5 years, because I don't see the policy, however good it is, able to. How can anyone imagine that the IPL 2020 will have a biosecurity manager and a biosecurity bubble? In terms of what are the jobs of the future, now how I look at it is, one, the child has to be school ready from school, from the foundational to the regular school, to higher school, to college ready, college to job ready, life and livelihood ready. That's how it goes about. So by 2035, our demographic dividend is going to be starting to fray on its sides. Now, by then, our population, by 2064, the world population is kind of going to stabilize. When our population dividend comes down, we have to move forward in terms of getting jobs. We are having something like 12 million people coming into the job stream every year. Where do we get the jobs for them from? Where do we get them job ready? Narayana Murthy says almost 80% of all our engineers are unemployable. That's where the vocational part comes in. But I pick up word with what Sangita was talking about regarding colors. And I remember Dr. Ken Robinson, my condolences to a great man. In one of his famous TED Talks, he talked about he was getting one of the children to draw God. So do you know how God looks like? The child says, you may not know, I'll show you right now how God looks like. So that's how we have to say, and I already see visiting a lot of online classes that we are so ready to tell, say, if Simran is the anchor, I am much more interested in telling her, you are wrong, you do not know, rather than exploring what we know and lead the child to a place where it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And since we are all army brats in some way, the armed forces is easier to reform. Our teacher community is much more difficult to reform, because we are so well set onto it. We want our books, and that's where this policy challenges the teacher much more. This policy has to get the teacher to be balanced, in the sense her assessment of the student has to go beyond personal foibles and interests, and above all, the teacher has to be ahead of the curve in terms of learning. Presently, we are ready. The school closes at 2:30. 2:31, I am ready with my bag to go home. We have to go beyond that. We have so far got away by blaming the parents and students for everything. Now, let us take ownership. The teaching community has to change, and they are the key to the success of what Dr. Kasturi Rangan and his team has put through. That would be my clear, unambiguous take. And our teachers, to put it bluntly, are not ready for it.
Colonel Shekhar, what a valid point. It is all going to have a trickle effect from teacher, but I will just add on to it is that the onus lies on the educators and the school owners. And I greatly believe if the school owners are aware of what it means to invest in teacher training programs, will go a long way of how we are going to implement and actually have the vision that we have for this policy actually go in the right direction. So I think along with the teachers training, the onus lies on the educators, educationists, or the school owners who are going to look into this policy and make sure the implementation is happening, and they make sure that the teacher enhancement programs are in place. I will invite Sangita at this point in time. Sangita, while we're talking about teachers and teacher training programs, what do you have to say about 0 to 3 years being now a home school? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. So see, this term like preschool, which probably we are hearing for the last 20 years, and this is a new thing, but why did preschool come into existence? Now, if we look back into that, probably preschool came into existence because of the fragmentation of the family structure, because of nuclear families started developing and both parents working, and who will take care of the child, or who will rather give an environment wherein the child needs to develop at that crucial age, that is 0 to 3, 4 years. So there comes the role of the preschool, where they foster their gross motor development, their fine motor development, their social development, and their linguistic or language development. And a language development, we tell to our teachers and even to the parents that it only happens when the pot is filled with words, when the child is hearing to that many words. This age, I've seen, like these days, I've seen many children who are having delayed speech. Why is it so? Because it's the screen time. They are learning everything. They're looking at the screen and there is no communication. So now, and preschool was a help wherein, the children used to go and the teacher used to sing rhymes, tell stories, they used to play with the peers, and the development was happening. But now with this new NEP 2020 in place, what happens that preschool usually starts from 2 years. Now, for the 2 to 3, that age group, the child is with the parent. And this first 1,000 days in life of a child is very important and very crucial. You don't have to, as a parent, you don't have to teach them ABCs or that. It is not absolutely required at that age. What is required? Now you have to give time for homeschooling, and what you can do for the development is to see that their fine motors are developed. How do you develop the fine motors? You can do simple things in the house, like, they can burst the bubble wraps. They can play with the cloth pegs or the cloth clips. They can knead the dough, and all these things is easily available in our house. So when they are having the strong fine motors, then they will be using the writing tools. It's not necessary, because we are trained that learning or studying means how soon they can write an ABC. That is what not the learning is aiming at, and that is what definitely not NEP wants, as it portrays that, conceptual clarity. So that age, the crucial age of 0 to 3, when the child is with the parent, so the parent needs to take care to see that the social development is happening. They're listening to a lot of the language, that they're able to express themselves, they express their needs, and that is what is important. And for this, definitely homeschooling can be coming to help for the nuclear families, where there are, the grandparents or the extended part of the family is not there. So these institutes can definitely come for an help.
Yeah, thank you, Sangeeta. So I think what we are broadly seeing is that a parent engagement program with standalone schools or big schools, when they are coming to enroll for nursery, would become a part of this whole education for preschools. Dr. VASAVVI, what would you want to say about this? Do you think parent awareness programs will come as a very mandatory and important thing?
Of course, Simran, the parent awareness and parent support, basically, we have to support the parents in delivering implementation of, of the school, whatever they are doing. I think due to this pandemic, already the parents have got quite involved with their children, because of this sudden shift to remote learning. And because, already for the past, from March onwards, parents have played a vital role in their children's, arranging for the classes, sitting with them, trying to, make them understand. So already there's a huge involvement of parent, but there has to be proper parent support programs for children below 3 years before they come to school, because what we know is the child is already shaped by the time they first step on the school threshold, because the environment, the family, the home settings, everything already builds up the child in some way or the other. And while they come into the school, they are already they have a personality set and all, which we try to again put in new things, talk to them. And so so I think parents require this, and this bit of support is not even going to be limited to this. We will need a lot of counseling for parents even in the higher classes.
Yes.
Yeah, because now that the subject combinations are coming into place, the vocational courses. Now, when we were at school, we had those pure streams, and if we didn't score well in science, everybody would say, okay, go to humanities. But now there's a combination, so people have to be highly aware. I'm just wondering about one thing: educated parents will be able to guide their children. So here counseling comes in a big way, because who is going to guide children who are in the rural setting? Probably they don't have, that kind of a vision or understanding. So there's a lot of work of counseling now, I feel, when this also has to come side by side.
Well said. So well said, Dr. VASAVVI. So we have two more major and very crucial points that we will discuss: is a 3-month transition plan and the language, local language. So I will again start with Colonel Shekhar. What do you have to talk about local language being taught in the early years?
Right. Before tackling that issue, a few points. I see a lot of parent involvement, parent support, etc. The educated parent that Dr. VASAVVI said sometimes is, shall we say, not the understanding parent. I would look for, I entirely look for a common sense parent, The more educated in terms of degrees, etc., does not necessarily qualify you to be what is perceived to be an understanding parent. Good or bad is none of my business. I look at a parent who understands what the school is doing. Especially in urban cities, there is much more of teacher intimidation than what is going through. This intimidation has to now, because there has been a time where teachers and principals were all dominant. Now it has gone to the other side because of what we call the student as the consumer. We require to get that balance right. And as Dr. VASAVVI said, a lot of progress during these COVID times wherein the teacher has become a co-parent, the parent has become a co-teacher. I hope we will get the golden mean right. Yeah, the point regarding the language, it is one of the more controversial topics of the NEP. I, for one, strongly support what the NEP has highlighted. I believe it's one of the key highlights of the policy by itself, in the sense that 85% of what we learn comes through before this age, etc. Early childhood, separate curriculum framework is great, all that, but the student, the child has to learn, or the better way, and I would quote the Pratham CEO, Mrs. Banerjee, who said, the language inside the classroom has to be the language of the playground. And if that playground language comes through, that is the time the child is able to understand and imagine better. I am all for it. I believe in principle. That is the way forward. However, I understand there will be a lot of practical difficulties, and I'm sure there is enough scope for it to do that. Yes, so my conclusive answer is yes, that is the way forward. Yes, that is what research tells us. Yes, there are challenges. Being a 4G myself, having had transferable jobs, I know how it can happen. Now staying in Bangalore with over 50% of Bangalore's population not from Bangalore, can Kannada be the mother tongue? No. So we will have to come up with new ideas and thoughts, but I strongly support that concept.
All right, Colonel Shekhar, very well said. And yes, it will, as you rightly said, practical implementation. That's what is going to go in for this aspect of policy implementation. Dr. VASAVVI, what do you have to say very quickly about the language?
See, Simran, I totally agree with Colonel Shekhar as regards the language, but here there's a difference between your mother tongue and the local language.
Sure.
There is a difference. And when we say that we are learning in our mother tongue, it's scientifically proved that we learn better. There is more absorption, there is more retention, there is more clarity. So, but again, learning in the local language, for that, I think we have to work for a solution. And I believe that there is a 3-language formula in the initial years we need to follow. One is, the mother tongue, like in Assamese, if we say boha means sit, and we can also use English, like sit down, and probably, something that has to work. Now we don't know what is actually going to work, but there will be a lot of trial and errors. And I feel there's some way that is going to come out. But I feel this is a good change, but we should not also do away with our hold in English, because that's overall, it's a language that is applicable worldwide, but that should not be, on the top of the pyramid in any way. So yeah, I think we have to get a balance, right? And understand now. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Dr. VASAVVI. So I think we, before I move it to Ms. Sangeeta to talk about language, I would invite the audience. We have a very, very enthusiastic and superb audience who is so participative. So thank you for being that. And we want to invite your opinions on what do you think about language inclusions or being taught in the local language or mother tongue, because we need to remember that a lot of children have both parents from different, they are multilingual parents. So, I mean, that is another thing that we need to consider. And also we had spoken about shift of jobs and places, but yes, it has to be implemented, but there has to be practical implementations.
No, but Simran, I would tell one thing, multiple language are capable of picking up, and it looks like, the brain develops better if children are exposed to more than one language.
Sure.
So it's just that English should not be at the pyramid top of, our language structure like it always used to be. Like if you can speak clear, proper English, means even if you don't have concept or you don't have content, still you are good because you are fluent in English. That should not be a priority. We should all know our mother tongue. We should also know English. So that is how, we have to go forward, I feel.
So there has to be a good balance at the end of the day.
There has to be a balance, yeah, because all in India, English rules.
Yes.
English rules. So that we need to do away with that concept, actually.
I would invite quickly.
So we should look at it as any language.
Yeah, yeah. It's I second, third, fourth, third strongly. English is a language of access. English is a language, and I've said it before. If Nelson Mandela comes and takes a class in India, his accent will be questioned. So we give a great deal in store for English as a language, and there's a lot by faking English language knowledge as well as some of the mannerisms, we get away with it. My much bigger point, as what Dr. VASAVVI said, is the mother tongue, the local language. We have to come up with a more workable solution which works for everyone else. But I'd like to add one important point which we are kind of not looking at. Hopefully, at the end of this churning and over the next 5 to 10 years, can we have a student who is in grade 4 as far as mathematics is concerned, is in grade 6 as far as social studies is concerned, is in grade 3 as far as English is concerned? Can we go away from this business of having age-specific grades, much more the competency-specific grades, wherein we can have all of it happening, wherein the child is able to go. At the end of the day, we require to create a personalized learning pathway for each child. And that's also part of what Parak says and what we require to find, what we require to do 360-degree reviews, etc. So that's one aspect. A lot of work requires to be done. And the second thing, which is a big shift as far as the policy is concerned, we are moving from compliance to trust. India is a low trust country. So far, they have said you have to comply with this, etc. It's going to be said we are going to be light on regulations, but tight on it. A lot more trust is to be given to institutions. I wonder how that will play out.
Good point, Colonel Shekhar. And with language, I will have a little out-of-box thinking here, that when we are saying that English should not be at the top of pyramid, we need to make sure that the corporates understand that too and respect that, because that's where our children are going to go.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Yes, Sangeeta, please go on. Kindly add your thoughts on the language inclusion.
Yes, sure. So I do agree to what Colonel and Dr. VASAVVI has said, that, a child understands best in its mother tongue. But again, if we look into India as a country, it has 22 languages and more than 19,500 mother tongues distinctly spoken. So, but with the practical experience that I have seen, that even when we are teaching the children in the nursery class or the playgroup class in a place as cosmopolitan as Pune, the teacher has to use 3 languages. Why? Because the teacher is a Malayali, the child coming is a Maharashtrian, and the child doesn't understand Hindi and English, both are foreign language. So here, with some actions, the path that is followed, the midway path that is taken is like how Dr. VASAVVI said, that you say it in Hindi because it is not possible for a Malayali teacher to speak Marathi. So to speak in Hindi and English, and gradually, because again, child development happens better, I mean, when they are listening to more than one language. So this is how, a balance needs to be created. So, and again, I do second what Simran is saying, that when we look into the corporate jobs and all that, and the way we are connected to the, to the other countries. So this is the common language that we speak, and this is how we understand. So it has to be parallel. I mean, we cannot neglect or keep English set aside completely. But yes, a child understands better in mother tongue or the regional language. But again, a balance needs to be seen, because I mean, this is a very complicated situation wherein, probably a Bengali family is staying in Maharashtra, the child is born here, the parents don't speak the local language, the child is listening to the local language, and they get transferred to Delhi. What happens? What happens to the understanding and the child's learning and the child's expression?
Absolutely.
So a balance is what is required.
Sure. Yes, absolutely, Sangeeta. So we need balance, we need practical implementation, and we need a good kind of a model that Dr. VASAVVI was talking about. And as I said, we definitely need a good corporate open-mindedness to welcome this, because we see so many times that when people come outside from India, they are having their translators, and then that's like really cool. So, I mean, we need to accept that mindset change in India too.
Exactly.
Yes. So my another question here is, now I will move on to the question of 3 months transition period. So I will invite Colonel SEKHAR. Are we good in time? If the admin can tell us, are we good at time? Can we still do this question?
Yes, we have about, yeah, we have about 3 to 4 minutes
Right,
if we are
so
not taking audience questions.
Very quickly, talk about the 3 months transition plan before we wrap up for the evening. And Colonel SEKHAR, your thoughts quickly on the 3 months transition plan.
As of now, I see whatever has been said to be okay. I'm not going to go more into it. I would wish to see how the curriculum framework develops. NCF coming in, NCF for foundation, 250 new textbooks. I am very keen to see how that comes up. That's more important. Back to you.
Okay. Sangeeta, what do you want to say about this?
For this, it is very much important that, in grade 1, when it is happening, this transition, 3 months transition, it should ideally start from the senior KG level, wherein the teachers are training that how, the separation from a small place and adaptation to a big place. And when their children are going to the elementary school, the teachers need to be ECCE trained, wherein, they are following that same adaptation policy, the environment of the big school, and then revisiting senior KG, and then gradually moving on to grade 1. So that is how they should be doing it.
Yeah, I think I second what Sangeeta is saying, that transition, everybody has to be ready for it. They have to be trained, and it has to be very, very, subtle and good. It should not be a sudden, shift. So yeah, it needs to go like that. And Simran, I would suggest there are a lot of remarks and probably questions that have come up in the chat box.
Sure.
Before we wind up, if there are any questions, you can just put that up.
Yes, we will look into it. I think Colonel SEKHAR has addressed most of it. I see one from Ms. Shani. English should just be mode of communication and not the mode of judgment of a kid to make it cool.
Yeah, very well said. That's right. But try telling it to egotistic principals and leaders who believe in it. There has to be a mind shift change. It's a huge difference. Well said, Madam Ballani. But I'd just quickly conclude before Simran runs out of time. There is one significant challenge which is going to come up in the near future. We are going to have children who have seen a world. You have never seen a world beyond Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, Google, etc. We are going to have a generation of teachers who have also not seen a world other than Google. A Google review, most of us do not go beyond the first or second page. 92% of it, we finish at the second page. And 65% of all Google takes you to a Google product only. The technology definitely has made us much less patient, and our education has to make us more reflective and patient. This policy, however, we are focusing on technology. Everything is technology. Even your assessment becomes human being agnostic. My belief is there has to be a lot of work requires to be done to make our newer teachers who are impatient, who do not go beyond Google's second or third page, the business of going deep analyzing, making the children understand, going beyond WhatsApp, Facebook, and Google universities, and realizing a world which is different is going to be a significant training challenge. I'm already seeing it big time when we are talking, when we are interacting with people. I would add that on to the challenges we are going to face in terms of how the knowledge India, which we are looking at, Nalanda and Takshashila, has to come through. We require teachers who are more than rote learners, who are deeper thinkers, who are able to tell children yellow and blue are colors which we have named them. You can name yellow, blue, blue, yellow, and say that north is what we have decided this north. We have to think through that. Thank you.
True, Colonel Shekhar, and it is all process of learning to learn. Closing thoughts, Dr. Vasavvi, in 30 seconds.
I think, yes, there's a lot of training that is involved, and also the teachers will have to, I think, raise to another level like it used to be in the ancient times. The most intellectual and the sharp minds used to be the gurus. So we need real teachers in terms of, teachers who can open their children's eyes to what they see, what they're learning. There's a lot of parent involvement, which is we cannot leave the entire onus to the teachers. There's a lot of parent counseling, parent support, and we have to involve the parents in the process as well, because it can't be implemented. NEP is going to be a huge, when we are talking about mainstreaming 2 crore children in this period, of 10 years or so. This is a huge step. So everybody has to work together. It has to be a concerted goal. It cannot be one category of people, only teachers or this or that. It's going to be a common goal, because we are working for the future of our country. We cannot leave them half baked. We cannot leave them just like that. We have to handhold everybody. And I think it's a responsibility of every parent, every teacher, every educator, every person who is living in the country, because our children's future lie in this. If this fails in some way or the other, we are going to lose generations of children, they'll just get haywire. So it's very, very crucial.
Wish we can tell our television anchors to go beyond Sushant Singh Rajput and Mafia, and once in a while talk about the education policy.
Well, yes.
Absolutely.
Very, very quickly, 30 seconds, closing thoughts, Sangeeta, before I wrap this up.
Yes. So it looks great on pen and paper. And as we know that training and everything is required, the first thing that is required to make it a success is a huge shift in mindset from parents to educators to everybody. And the policy will not go well if we are hurrying too soon. If we are trying to implement it, with 20, I've seen the implementation plan, and it's 2021 is when they want to start with the phase 1, that is the senior KG, and then the 9th. But where is the learning? Where is the teachers training? If we are hurrying through the policy, then definitely it's not going to be successful.
Sure. Thank you, Sangeeta, and thank you, Colonel Shekhar. Thank you, Dr. Vasavvi, and thank you to all this audience. So we have touched on the visions and the possibilities and challenges. Ministry of Education has developed this policy after 6 years of Manthan, and as our Honorable Prime Minister says, Niti se ran niti. So we are hoping that we are able to do the same in the implementation part of it. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience, and we wait to hear from you. Kindly write to us, and don't forget to like us on YouTube and Facebook. We are planning to do another segment of this NEP policy, decoding it further. We want to hear from you if you want this session in part 2. Dr. Vasavvi, were you saying something?
No, I was not. Thank you so much, Simran. And thank you, Colonel and Sangeeta, for joining us today. Yes, so I think we are...
All right, so this is a wrap.
It's our pleasure to have us.
Yeah, our appreciation to Simran for an excellent moderation. Thank you. God bless.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you very much. So this is a wrap. Thank you so much for being with us. And we have a lot of webinars coming up, and something very excellent coming up in October. So do check us on our website, ecdf.org, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye, everyone.